A scrupulous logician might insist that the phrase public opinion makes nonsense, since the public is not a person, has no brain, no consecutive memory, and cannot opine. It can only assemble and shout, and many shouts make a public demonstration, but many ballots do not make a public idea. Yet a public act may ensue which a possible idea might justify, and if the act excited a public interest which did not exist before, the possible idea might well become actual in the persons who had acquired that interest. A crowd, or an electorate, may vote for war, and thereby create 1,000 commercial, moral interests in portions of the public, parties who will tend to embrace ideas that justify the interest so suddenly thrust upon them. Then, each variety of interest will favor a different type of opinion. First, for instance, a common enthusiasm for war and confidence in victory, though none of the persons concerned may have originally desired that war or dreamt of its possibility. Later, perhaps, a common desire for peace may follow in order that one may escape taxes, another bombs, another military service, and another the inner tumult of public passions. Public opinion is therefore a most real thing, and often a dominant power. Many individuals habitually, and all individuals occasionally, embrace opinions together, under a common provocation and expressed in the same words. This public opinion is a distinct psychological event in each person with a different intensity, duration, and field of suggestion, and it seems public opinion to each only in the measure in which his special character in himself is not distinguished. Nothing is heeded except some public action, sentiment, or words in the midst of which that personal opinion arose, with a powerful sense of being backed or borne forward by an irresistible persuasion, at least momentarily unanimous. The force of such public opinion in the private mind comes in no way through argument or evidence, for even if some eloquent phrase or the report of some crucial fact has occasioned it in each person, its public force lies entirely in the social blast that carries it with magic conviction into many minds at once. If the argument or evidence that rashly justifies this conviction is considered separately, coolly, and reflectively, the opinion so revised becomes a purely private opinion, independent of the character and number of the people that may happen to agree with it. Only if the prevalence of that opinion is expressly made the ground for accepting it, as in the maxim, quod semper, quod ubique, quod ob omnibus, does public opinion still govern the private mind. And we shall probably find on examination the society so clothed with authority is strictly limited and congenial to the man who adheres to it, and contrary to the prevalent opinion of mankind at large and in most ages. Under criticism, such a trust in unanimity becomes a private preference. The man respects a public authority because that particular public authority teaches what he likes to believe. The spell of unanimity can therefore be exercised by a small assembly, with all the emotional magic of profound, blessed, invincible agreement. Indeed, two persons are enough, when they agree, to defy emotionally all the edicts of earth and of heaven. It is finding the alter ego who thinks as I do, that is satisfying, the reassuring support for the misgivings of solitude. These misgivings are animal, not logical, and the logician can overcome them by repeatedly agreeing with himself. Public opinion and the public itself are conceptual fictions, yet nature is full of compound bodies that count as units in physics as well as in politics. A constellation in the sky may be a mythical entity, and a bear and a crab on earth are concrete and vital agents. Even a snowball is a dynamic unit when it flies, well aimed, and hits the passerby. Each snowflake was light and floated through the air without apparent aim or momentum. But when a mischievous urchin has compressed it, together with 1,000 others, they have become as hard and as tight as ice. So the vague notions and animosities of an irresolute individual may become compact fury in the crowd, and the words that some demigod selects to fix that notion, or to whet that animosity, may turn, for a moment, into a sudden passion in 1,000 minds. Is this passion then a public passion? Yes, politically, for the moment. That concourse is dominated by it, and asserts and perhaps enacts it with an intense outflow of free will. Nevertheless, not one, except the orator, might ever have found those words to represent or to transform his feelings, nor, without those imposed words, might any one of them have ever felt that irresistible and glorious passion. All feelings, then, in their living actuality, are private feelings, and all passions, private passions. But by animal sympathy and contagion, the sense of each single feeling or passion sweeping through a crowd may possess each member of that crowd. And such an experience, even if no overt action comes to turn it into a commitment, warms the whole heart and leaves a durable nucleus in the psyche for all further enthusiasms and opinions. Public opinion, for a politician or a journalist, may ultimately become the whole furniture of the private mind, that which everybody thinks, but that which the majority are likely to think before long, becomes the standard of solidity rather than truth. Because public opinion having become the test of private opinion, there is no truth to be considered except the political trustworthiness of such opinions as the public entertains and esteems. The individual, however, has a memory as the public has not, and civilization implies records and institutions which, for the reflective, enlarge private memory into some knowledge of other times and of other forms of public opinion. Current public opinion may therefore sink, for the critic, into a passing phenomenon, necessarily partial and possibly pathological. Private judgment has its innings again, not through inner egotism, but on the contrary, through respect for a wider view and a better understanding of the causes of public opinion. Public opinion is inevitably vaguer, more variable, more impulsive than the opinion of such members of the public as are particularly well informed, and is morally less responsible, less prudent, more animal than are the actions of any sane individual. For the reversion to reason and conscience from the intoxication of tribal passions is not confined to learned or exceptional minds. The most helpless of the shouting mob in the circus is capable of it on the way home. Suppose, as the crowd thins, that a man finds himself alone with his mate, who has shouted hurrah as loudly as himself, and nudged him to express how great a man the leading speaker was. The two, after stopping to light their pipes, might begin to question this or that phrase of the orators, but they were not sure that they liked that. Perhaps they hadn't quite got their own idea. In this way, the unanimous enthusiasm of that public at its height might conceivably not represent the sober opinion of a single one of those present, except that of the orator himself. And I am perhaps not doing justice to his eloquence, for the more extraordinary his eloquence was, the more likely it is that what he said had never been his real and final opinion before, but came to him from the depths and the heat of that improvisation. And though probably, in that case, he would adopt and repeat it perpetually henceforth in his propaganda, it is not inconceivable that, in his waking meditations, in the silence of night, he might say to himself that it was nonsense. If this ever happened, public opinion would not, in that instance, represent the private opinion or sober judgment of a single one of those who had contributed to form, to swell, or to diffuse that public opinion.